Do you want a faster or a more powerful battery-powered ratchet? We'll find out when we get back. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tool Reviews. Today we're taking a look at the Milwaukee 2566, really the 2566 and the 2567. Now these are the M12 FUEL high-speed ratchets. So yes, the M12 FUEL ratchet came out several years ago, which was the first rendition of the FUEL or brushless ratchet. They had a generation before that was a brushed model. Then they came out with the FUEL version, that was the brushless model, and offered a little more power, but it slowed things down and the head got bigger. So Milwaukee said, we've got an answer for you. We'll release a high-speed ratchet. That's what we have here. We have the M12 FUEL high-speed ratchet in the 1/4-inch drive, which is the 2566, and the 2567 is the 3/8 drive, but they're pretty much identical. Now let's take a closer look at these two. We'll use them, check out some performance numbers, check out dimensions, things like that. Even may talk about it compared to the old first version of the M12 FUEL, and then we'll come back and wrap this up. What we have here are the Milwaukee 2566 and 2567. Now what these are the 1/4-inch and 3/8 inch M12 FUEL high-speed ratchets. So they have the 2556 and 2557, which are the non-high-speed ratchets. Still the FUEL, still the M12 FUEL, still brushless technology, but they're not high-speed like the 2566 and the 2567. Now, I believe we've already reviewed the 2567, but I just wanted to hear for comparisons, and we're going to talk a few different things with the 1/4-inch. And then we're actually going to get into maybe even answering some call-outs that I got on whether to use a 1/4-inch or 3/8 ratchet. So we'll show some performance as well as talk about which one we would choose and why we opted to answer the way we did. But let's take a look here specifically at the 2566, and we'll compare to the 2567 as well as the old version as well. It's named the high-speed ratchet because, frankly, it's high speed. In fact, it's the fastest ratchet we have tested. Even though there's others on the market that claim more RPMs, this one definitely under load is quicker. And just to give you an idea, I'll bring this is the 2557 3/8, so the first M12 FUEL ratchet. So you can see even by visual and by hearing that this is quite a bit faster. Now this is 450 RPMs, that's no load, and 35 foot-pounds of force. So what do you give up in going to a high-speed ratchet? And I just mentioned it, 35 foot-pounds of torque. The old M12, the first Gen 1 M12 FUEL ratchet, the 3/8 had 55 foot-pounds of force. So you're giving up that 20 foot-pounds to have that faster ratchet. Now, I've always said that I believe a cordless ratchet is more of a nut runner than an impact wrench. I still believe that. So I like going with a high-speed ratchet. I could care less about the torque as long as it's got the guts manually that I can break things free without breaking the ratchet. So if you look at the 2566 and the 2567, which again is the 1/4-inch and 3/8, you can see from this side you would never be able to tell the difference. Exact same head, exact same body and all. Now when you look at the anvil, obviously you can tell which is the 1/4-inch and which is the 3/8 inch. Now a couple of things they changed on this as well. Not only getting high speed, but also you'll notice that overall length with the battery is right dead on 11 inches. Now if I bring the old unit over here, you'll see that battery and all, we're almost 12 inches, so 11 and 7/8 of an inch. So they've saved about 7/8 of an inch on that. So you can see right there. As well as if you look at the head itself. If we look at the head itself, let me bring my digital calipers over here. So if we look at just the thickness of the head without including the anvil, looking at, we'll go to inches here. So right at a little over an inch, almost 1.1 inches. And if we look at the head thickness here, right at about 3/4 of an inch, 0.76 inches. So you're saving more than a 1/4 inch in just the thickness and the depth of that head, as well as, let's look at the width here. That's at 1.175 versus over 1.5 inches on that, almost 1.6 inches on that. So we get quite a bit of savings, not only on the head thickness, but also in the width as well, and even in the length of the tool. We're saving almost, or shaving off almost, an inch. And then we're also picking up that speed. Let's also get a weight on these tools here. So the 2566, which is the 1/4 inch with the 2 amp hour battery, you're looking at 2 pounds, 1 ounce is basically 2 pounds, 1.1 ounce. And if we weigh the 3/8 anvil, should be dead on. Yeah, 2 pounds, 1.4 ounces. So not even an ounce difference between the two. Probably the only thing difference will be that anvil there. Now, just to give you an idea, so we're looking at 2.1 pounds versus the 3/8 tool of old with the 2 amp hour battery. So 2 pounds, 13.5 ounces. So you're looking at almost a full pound heavier for the old tool as well. So longer, wider, you get more power but less speed, and it's just a heavier and larger tool by far. Now here on the tool, on the head, we also have a recessed shift knob here. So you can see we can't hardly even see, so it's not going to hit on something. If you're in that tight area and you're backing something out and it grabs that directional lever and switches it the other way, you're not going to have to worry about that because it's really flush to the top of the head. Now, you can elect, if you say, you know what, I never encountered that issue, you can get the raised shift knob as well. So you can pull out that circlip there and swap this out and have a raised lever as well. You can get that from Milwaukee. I mentioned 450 RPMs. You get that through a variable speed. I'm going to call this a paddle switch, even though it's really only a little plunger right there, but still we get that paddle where it's easy to grab with, whether it be just your pinky, whether it be your whole hand, what have you. Wherever you grab this tool, you can still easily assess that paddle to depress that. And again, you can make it crawl really slow if you want to. And the more you squeeze, so you get that variable speed trigger built into that paddle there. You also get an LED that's shining there on the fastener. Once you power the tool, you'll see the battery indicator right there on the top of the tool, because on your M12 batteries, you don't have a fuel gauge built onto it, but it's there on the tool to easily see the status of the charge of your battery. Also here on the bottom side, you get a lockout for the trigger. So you can lock that out. So as I squeeze the trigger, it's not lighting my LED, it's not turning the tool on, so you can throw it in your toolbox, don't have to worry about it. You don't have to remove the battery, just throw that lock in the position, slide that up, and now we can activate the tool once more. And then finally, if you want to dress up your tool, you can get the little head cover here, so you can slip that rubber cover over, and you know, if you're worried about getting nicks and scratches on your tools, then you can cover it up with these head covers here. Let's go use this. Let's see the differences and similarities between the 3/8 and the 1/4 inch. We're over here on our test bench now. We're going to test a couple of methods. Just wanted to show you once more kind of size difference here. So we have the 2566, 2567, 1/4 inch and 3/8, and then the old Gen 1 M12 FUEL ratchet. So this again is the first rendition of the FUEL ratchet, and you see size change, height, as well as of the head as well. So we're going to pull this one away for right now. We're just going to show the 2566 and 2567. Now, I've mentioned before in many of my videos when I talk about these ratchets, even when they just announced it and we hadn't even played with it yet or haven't even seen it, I said the same thing. I said if it's fast and it will actually move the nut on the fastener, it's going to be the go-to ratchet. That's my thought. These are nut runners, so the faster they are, the better they are, the more time they're saving you. It's not about being an impact wrench. Now, I get it. It needs to be able to at least move the fastener on the threads. It's not going to help you if it won't run the fastener off or won't run the nut off. That's not going to help you much. So I get that. It's got to have a little bit of power, but it doesn't need to be an impact wrench. That's my point on these. So what we're going to do here, we are going to torque these 3/4 inch nuts, and we're going to torque them to 5 foot-pounds, 10 foot-pounds, and 15 foot-pounds here on the bottom. And I'm just going to run them off, make sure it'll run each one of them off, break them free. We're not going to give any help to the ratchet at all and just see if it breaks those free. I've got my torque wrench and I've got it set to 180 inch-pounds, which is 15 foot-pounds. And we're going to torque each one of these. Now I'm going to back this down to 10 foot-pounds, which would be 120 inch-pounds. And then we'll come down to 60 inch-pounds. So 60 inch-pounds or 5 foot-pounds. Okay, so we're going to take our 2566, which is the 1/4 inch high-speed ratchet. And you'll see we've got a full battery here. Again, it's the 2 amp hour battery. Got it on reverse. And so here we go at 5 foot-pounds. No problem. No problem. Okay, so 5 foot-pounds are not a problem. Now we're at 10. No problem. A little bit of a stall there. No problem at 10 foot-pounds. So now we're at 15 foot-pounds. Now, why did I start at 5 and only go to 15? Because here's my thoughts. I don't think it's going to break free 35 foot-pounds. In fact, I'm very confident it's not. I still don't hold any weight to that whatsoever, and I'll show you why in here in one moment. So now we're at 15 foot-pounds. So had to bump it a couple of times there. Again, again. So finally got it to move. Again at 15 foot-pounds. Okay, it broke free then. And it broke free then. So has a little trouble at 15 foot-pounds. I really don't think it's going to do any more than that or much more than that at all. Now I'm going to go up to 18 foot-pounds and I'm going to torque these last 2 rows to 18 foot-pounds. Okay, I've got these bottom 2 rows at 18 foot-pounds, and you can see that I still have a full battery. Here we go. So nothing at 18 foot-pounds. Okay, I broke that one free. But nothing. Now obviously I can easily just manually hit it and be able to back those off. So let's see now. Let's see if the 2567, which is the 3/8 inch, will break these free. Still nothing. Again, if I put a little force on it, obviously, then it's going to work fine. So again, as I've said before, I don't care that it won't break free a 35 foot-pound fastener on its own. As long as I can put some force on it, break it free, pull that trigger, and it backs those off. That's all I want to see in these ratchets. Now, somebody called me out on this, and they were doing so by saying, hey, well, listen, if it's not going to run a fastener off, though, if it's a little bit rusty, or if you've got like a lock washer or a lock nut on there, like a nylock nut, will it run those off? I said, you know what, that is a great test. I do not remember which viewer it was on my YouTube channel, but they asked that. They said, hey, why not show running some, locking fasteners off, so like a nylock. So I've got 3 fasteners here that are different sizes, and we're going to run those off with both these units here. So let me start with the smallest. So this is a 12 millimeter fastener here, and it is a nylock nut. So here we go. So no problem whatsoever being able to run that off. And I'll go up to the next size here. I believe this is a 1/2 inch. no problem there either. And then all the way up to a, I believe this is a 9/16 inch fastener. So these nylock locking nuts are no problem. And as you can see here, I can put this on and I can't turn it by hand. So it's definitely, it's not like the nylons wore out on it or anything else. It is still very functional. I cannot turn it by hand. So it does have the power to back off those locking fasteners. I thought that was a great idea of being able to show that yes, I would agree, if it would not be able to back off these locking fasteners like that, that would be a problem. But obviously it has the power to do that. They're very fast. I can also manually input. I've shown it before, of breaking free 100 foot-pounds, no problem at all, with no bending or fracturing here in the body whatsoever. It looks like the 3/8 and the 1/4 inch are still the same strength, if you will. Let's see if I put on a larger battery if we do pick up any power. So now what we have on here is a 4.0 battery, and you see we've got full charge. And so now we've retorqued these four here to 18 foot-pounds. So no pickup there whatsoever as far as power on that larger battery. And I'm going to go to a 6 amp hour battery. Again, fully charged, 6 amp hour XC 6.0. Looks like we got a little, maybe. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it looks like the 6.0 gives us a little bump in that, but you're not going to see a huge jump in power like you would on the right angle impact or on the stubby or something like that. Now, I've always been a big proponent since we've started testing battery-powered ratchets, which was really the first time that battery-powered ratchets came out, that I've always felt like this is not an impact wrench. In fact, that's just fact. This is not an impact wrench. Many people like to look at it as an impact wrench. That's not what this is. I consider this a nut running device, and those of you that have seen my videos on this are probably thinking, my gosh, we know, shut up. But I'm just letting you know this is a nut runner. So running nuts and bolts off, it's not meant to have 100, 200 foot-pounds of force to break things free. That's why we have impact wrenches, and that's why we have a right angle impact wrench. This is a ratchet, a battery-powered ratchet. So when they said, you know what, we're going to have a faster ratchet, but it's only going to have 35 foot-pounds of force, I said, I don't care. I'm telling you, it will be a big deal, and it is. This is the fastest ratchet out there. Even though there are claims from others that are faster, we haven't seen it yet. I think that maybe Snap-on has a brand new one out that may be as fast or faster. We have not seen that yet. So to our test, this is the fastest out there by far. Now, we really don't see a power difference between the 1/4 inch and the 3/8 drive ratchet in the 2566 and the 2567. So it's just literally your anvil size. You can see in the head, everything else, this is pretty much an identical tool. But definitely if you're looking for that faster ratchet, stepping up to this model of the M12 FUEL, you're definitely going to love it. So will you sacrifice a little bit of power? Sure. But again, all you have to do is give it a little ugga-dugga yourself and then break it free and it will run those off. And we've proved even on the nylock fastener, so like a locking fastener, it's still going to be able to run those off without a problem. Now somebody asked me something, actually I've probably been asked a few times, but specifically in a comment, kind of called me out like, hey, you're being real political on your answer about saying whether you'd buy a 1/4 inch drive or a 3/8 drive in the high speed ratchet. And I kind of didn't give an answer. I kind of hem-hawed around and said, well, maybe this, if that, and that sort of thing. I'm never scared to give my opinion on something, and I really had to think about that. I thought, you know what? Am I actually copping out on that? Am I actually not giving an answer because I'm scared to? And I really dug in, and here's my answer, and I'm sticking to, it really depends on what you need as to what my answer is. And here's why. Most of my stuff around here are 60s and 70s muscle cars, mostly GM stuff. So I'm always messing with 7/16, 1/2 inch, 9/16, even 5/8 fasteners, sometimes down into the 3/8 and 5/16, things like that. But most of the time it's 7/16 and larger. So it makes sense to me to have a 3/8 drive as kind of my go-to all the time. So if I had to choose one, it would be this. However, if you're the type of guy, you're working on Volkswagens and Audis and BMWs, you're going to see 8mm, 10mm fasteners all the time. Now that probably makes more sense to you to go with a 1/4" drive because you're seeing those little bit smaller fasteners all the time. And hey, let's face it, a little bit smaller sockets, things like that, it would be beneficial to you for a 1/4" drive. So that's why I've answered the way I have, because the stuff I work on may not be the stuff you work on. Typically, I look at kind of the division between a 1/4" and 3/8 as kind of that 7/16, 12mm. So somewhere in there is the division of, if it's 7/16 and smaller, I'm typically grabbing a 1/4", or if it's 11mm and smaller, I'm grabbing a 1/4". If it's 12mm and larger, or 1/2 inch and larger, then I'm going to go with a 3/8 drive ratchet. Hey, check these out. You can get them as a kit, either one of these as a kit with 2 of the 2 amp hour batteries, and that's going to run you $259, and that's the charger, the 2 batteries, and the ratchet, and of course the beautiful case. That's going to run you $259. For the tool only, going to run you $179. So again, that's whether you're going with the 2566 or the 2567. Hey, they have a 5-year warranty on these as well, and you can dress them up with the pretty bat suit to cover the head and that sort of thing, or go with the higher shift knob if you want that. We were able to pull a little more power out with a 6 amp hour battery, but really not a lot, not like we've seen a difference in the stubby impact wrench and the right angle impact wrench. Hey, be sure to check them out yourself. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button, but only if you liked our video. And if you hated our video, by all means, give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day and keep smiling.